So, for the last few weeks here in Gibraltar, it hasn't rained.
No.
But tomorrow, it's going to rain for a week. So, we need to make sure that we're not going to let in any water ingress. And at the moment, we've got some issues.
We have.
With our fixed port lights. Last winter, you might remember that we redid all of our hatches and port lights.
Yes.
These were opening port lights. What we've got now are fixed port lights. Which way is it in reverse? This one. These ones are letting in water, so the acrylic in them, the kind of plastic, the polycarbonate, is all fine. So all we need to do is rebed them. So the thing with windows on a boat, they let you know when they need doing because they start to leak. This window, however, doesn't leak, but it does move.
Oh my God.
Which is not the desired effect. So this window definitely needs to be rebedded. This is a standard opening port light that we replaced last winter, and this outer frame here basically acts as a compression with the screws there to pull in the outer kind of frame and creates that compression, so you can put some sealant in the middle of it and jobs are good and it doesn't let in any water. And this one's been a bobby down. But with these windows, you ain't got any compression.
No.
So you've got to get your waterproofing in a slightly different way, and that's what we'll go through today. The tools required. We need some various types of scrapers, a nice pick, a Stanley knife, some masking tape, a mixture of 50-50 isopropyl and water, a couple of microfiber cloths, some acetone, some full-strength isopropyl alcohol, and some very high bond tape, as well as some sealant. So we've covered up the inside area of the boat in this lovely dust sheet that we got from two of the nicest people I've ever met, Margaret and Peter, shout out to North Shields, to catch any debris and dust that's going to come through as we go through the cleaning process. Because as with most things on a boat, 90% of the effort is in the prep. And the first stage we've got to do is in this preparation is to remove the window. Now I showed you that this is moving quite easily there, so I can loosen that bond here, but I'm going to have to go with one of my scrapers and go around the outside edge to loosen the top edge as well. Taking the trusty scraper and just working down the old sealant, being careful not to scratch the gel coat or the acrylic. You don't want to pull at it too much and risk like snapping the glass. Slowly scrapey, slowly scrapey. And there you have one acrylic window. All right, I mentioned that 90%, was it even 95% was of the effort is in the prep. And this is where the majority of that effort is going to be spent, and that's cleaning down all of the old sealant. I think this is some tape that has been used in the past, along with some sealant around the edges here, and all of that needs to come off. And the only way to do that reliably is to use scrapey, and when we get the majority of it off, we'll start to use a bit of isopropyl as well to get some residual off. But because this is all silicon based, it needs to come off because we want the new tape to stick on and we want the sealant to stick on. And if there's a large amount of residual silicon on there, it won't stick and you'll have to do the job again, starting from zero, starting from the very beginning, which is a nightmare. Not that I've done that, but just in my mind, that's a nightmare. About as glamorous as it gets.
Oh, that's satisfying.
Yeah. Not easy to do, but that's not it though. That's just an outer layer. All of that is still kind of adhesive. Look, that needs to come off in its entirety. So we're going to be here a while. So we're about half an hour in here. And we've got most of it off now. You can kind of feel these parts here, and they still feel a bit rubbery from the old silicone, and therefore you've still got to meticulously scrape all the residue off. Try and get as much off as you possibly can. And then the other thing that needs to be cleaned off is the acrylic. Loads of silicone around there, and looks to be kind of black residue from the old tape or paint or whatever was used on it. Got to get a razor blade and just scrape, scrape, scrape. Okay, so we've done all the major scraping with our trusty Purdy scrapers, and now we've been around this with some isopropyl alcohol, just rubbing around it for quite a long time actually, and then afterwards you can feel, and any rubbery is the old silicone that's left, and you just want to scrape that off or continue to rub it off. So that's the prep of that done. I think it took about an hour and a half. It'll depend on who did the job last as to how long it takes you. There was a lot of silicone in this, so it took a little bit longer than some of the other windows, which took about an hour. I have also been around and scraped the edges of the existing acrylic with a razor blade to remove most of the silicone off there. And the final step to clean that is to go around with a rag, and we'll go use a 50% mix now. So 50% isopropyl, 50% water, and therefore that's just a little bit milder acting on the plastic, and that will take off any remaining residue, and we'll clean this up nicely. So that'll not take long, take about 5 minutes. You can also use that 50-50 just to clean the glass down in general, and it looks like a bloody new window when it goes in, so I don't mind doing this step. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we don't have any compression with the screws to keep the glass in place. So what we're going to use is this VHB tape, 5952F. It stands for very high bond, and essentially this tape will go on, it's double-sided, and it will stick across here, and then this red outer will be on, and when we're ready we'll peel all of that off, and then the other side becomes sticky and we'll put the glass onto that. You get a bond almost instantly, although it does get stronger over a 24-hour period where it gets really, really strong. What it means is that you get one shot at putting your glass in, so it needs to be absolutely spot on before you put it on, so no pressure fit.
Happy so far?
I am happy so far. Faye is doing this bit because she is much more delicate with her hands than I am. So whenever it comes to taping on the boat, if it's using masking tape or whatever, Faye's the lady.
What happened is we left him there. We've been there for 8 days and everything. We come down to the house. And he was then following on while we went. And when he was fueling up in Padstow, someone turned out to him and said, "Oh, where are you off to?" I said, "I'm off." He said, "You wouldn't know it. There's a small place called Oakley. You can all live there."
Trim that edge.
When he was going, he said, "Oh, in the morning. Well, this guy is he said, "Oh, if you want to get back, that could be." And then he thought, then it's walking on this guy said, "No, you know, I
Alright, so we trimmed all of the corner bits and so on, just eyeballing it just to get a nice kind of rounded fit for when we put the glass on. The next stage is there's an overlap between the width of the fitting here and the tape, and we just need to go along with a razor blade and trim that off. This is where nails help.
Yeah. Was that isopropyl you had on there?
Acetone.
Acetone. Whoops, here's where Rob left it on time-lapse, but never mind, we'll do take 2 and you can ignore the obvious continuity error.
So, I've been up most of the night in 45 mile an hour winds, so I'm a bit tired. But anyway, that's why I look like crap. So in doing the window, we were looking at what type of sealant to use to stop the water from coming in, and also to just adhere the plastic a little bit in addition to the VHB tape. We can't use butyl because there's no compression factor, as we mentioned before. There's no screws to tighten. What was used before was some kind of Sikaflex product, some kind of white generic sealant. It just dried out. I don't know how old it was, but it cracked, it lost its adhesive properties and started letting water through the window. So I searched and searched and searched, and actually I looked at something a little bit different. We've got Dowsil 791. So this is a weatherproofing sealant that they use on skyscrapers and stuff like that, on windows the world over. So it'll be pretty good on a boat. It's got very good anti-UV properties, which is going to be good for us this year in the Mediterranean sun. And it's got a little bit of flex in it as well. So as the window moves, it's not gonna crack, and it's not gonna start to let in water prematurely. So we got some of this. It's cheap. It's widely available in the UK. We'll stick a link in the description. And this was done 4 months ago, hence my time-lapse error. And we've been through the wettest winter in living memory here in Gibraltar, and we haven't let in any water. So it's pretty good stuff, and I would definitely recommend it.
Thanks for watching, and if you found this video useful, please consider buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/sailinghiem.